Welcome into another edition of the Water Cooler Podcast presented by SKOL Marketing. Today we are talking cereal. We're talking everything from our favorite cereal mascots to the ethics of marketing to youth and a little bit of the history behind everybody's favorite sugary breakfast treat. It's going to be a good one. We're excited to have you here. All right, welcome into the Water Cooler Podcast. As I mentioned in the intro, today we are going to be talking about ethics in marketing. Now, this whole conversation started with a side conversation we were having here in the office about the absurd nature of advertising towards children, specifically the example of breakfast cereal. Now, this has been something that was prevalent in our childhoods and is still very active today, basically marketing sugary, potentially toxic cereals to children.
It's dessert.
It is dessert, yeah. So when thinking about this topic, what comes to mind for you guys? What are some of these ethical qualms that you want to get off your chest?
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we start by going around and talking about our favorite breakfast cereal and how we were hooked as a kid. Wouldn't that be great? And how we've formed an addiction since childhood. Yeah.
Addiction might be a strong word, but I will say as a child, I freaking loved Lucky Charms. I wish I was born a little bit later so I could have had that market of just the marshmallows that they started selling years later.
Oh my God. I walk through the aisles at Target and I see all of the cereal brands like have these offshoot flavors that are just like only Crunch Berries or only marshmallows. And I don't know how that passes FDA. That's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, for me, getting into Lucky Charms was not only the delicious taste of it, but also the leprechaun goes pretty hard.
Yeah,
I love that little guy.
And the good luck that you receive from consuming it.
Yeah, they're magically delicious.
Truly.
Abe, what do you got? What was your first?
I liked the more niche ones. I liked Honeycomb. I liked Waffle Crisp.
Honeycombs are good.
Fruity Pebbles is more mainstream. I mean, Fruit Loops, I truly was like a cereal connoisseur.
We've got a ball knower over here.
Yeah, I really liked them all. And the fact that there's an entire aisle in every grocery store dedicated to just cereal is like, that's crazy. And I think that really shows just how big of an influence they have on
And
kids.
it's a rainbow.
Yeah.
You walk down that aisle and you're like blinded a little bit.
Abe, I'm curious. So you mentioned kind of more of these like deep cut offshoot cereals that maybe aren't like the A-list. What was it about those? Was it just the taste? Was there some sort of advertising that got to you? How did you get to that point where your primary mix wasn't necessarily the mainstream as such a young lad?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with what TV shows I was watching as a kid and like what was being marketed to me. I feel like the Post cereals, which was, I think, Fruity Pebbles, were marketed heavily towards me. And why I liked them better? I don't know. Maybe I was just edgy back then.
Yeah, you were just a hipster from birth.
You had such a sophisticated palate.
Yeah, I had a little fedora on and my flannels.
Let's get into the marketing side of this, right? So, Abe, you mentioned it. A lot of the consumer habits that you had as a kid maybe came from the TV shows you were watching, the content you were consuming. What role does advertising play in consumption of this sort of sugary breakfast cereal or dessert, as you said, Drew? And also, like, where do the ethics come into play here? What are our thoughts on that?
I think to do a quick speed run of backstory about cereal, it was originally marketed towards adults, and they had just like super crazy statements back in like the 1800s and early 1900s about what cereal could do. I mean, they would say that grape nuts could cure your alcoholism. Like that was truly something they would market towards adults. And then eventually they realized, oh, we could actually make a ton of money just putting some little bears on our cereal boxes and like target it towards kids. And then eventually in like the 50s and 60s, every cereal box had a fun little cartoon character. Later in the 90s, then like each box would come with toys. Yeah. Your favorite athletes were on boxes. I mean, they had cartoons, games on the backs. And then, yeah, like for me, and probably you too as well, like watching Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, half the commercials we see is just going to be sugar cereal, Pop-Tarts.
Toucan Sam coming at you hot.
Yeah.
Follow your nose.
Trix, the rabbit, the Reese's Puff commercial. That's still stuck in probably all of our Reese's Puffs. I mean,
peanut butter chocolate, great when separate, but when they get together, make the morning time epic.
Dang.
Yeah. Just spitting some bars on you.
Peanut butter chocolate.
Quick side note based on that. One of the greatest memories of my childhood was it was a General Mills cereal. I don't remember which one in particular, but they had a partnership with Backyard Sports. So I got like a full backyard baseball video game for the computer just in my cereal box.
Well,
Yeah.
was that like in every cereal box, or were you a lucky winner?
I don't think I was lucky winner, man. I think they were generally just
that's
trying to get kids to
insane.
play their game. So they bit the bullet and made a partnership with General Mills, I believe, and just distributed their game throughout cereal boxes, which compared to today, that's honestly pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think, once the toys entered the box, it was game over.
Yep.
That was like the pinnacle of just forming that addiction for children. And you see that also, transcend cereal as well. Like the Happy Meal, I feel like, is a prime example of just marketing to kids. And I mean, it's called a Happy Meal. The meal's going to make you happy, right?
I think it honestly, it might even be more targeted towards the parents because you're going to have a happy kid. You get them the Happy Meal, they might pipe down a little bit.
True, yeah.
Actually, it's something they want to eat, right?
Yeah.
Like it's chicken nuggets or a burger or apples, whatever,
Just speaking on that, because I have a 3-year-old at home, that having a new toy sometimes lets them just be in their own world for a little bit. Even if it's 10 minutes, that 10 minutes of silence is just so prime for just an adult individual.
Yeah.
And
That's
having that peace and quiet for 10 minutes. So yeah, I mean, that's really interesting that it's marketed actually towards the parents.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dopamine hit for the kid. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, we all, when we get a package in the mail, you get excited.
Oh,
It's Christmas.
100%. It is Christmas.
So I mean, when a little kid opens their cereal box and gets a little toy, I mean,
It's everything.
it's nice and it's peace and quiet for you.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual content of cereal. Cereal, it's dessert, it's sugary. And one thing that always sticks out to me, especially when thinking back to my childhood and those cereal commercials, is they would always be very particular about the copy. And the copy would say part of a balanced breakfast. And then there would be, like a glass of OJ or an orange or like some other piece that would go into making a balanced breakfast, where the cereal is just like a side character in that, right? Let's dive into that a little bit. Like what are some of the ethical questions that come up when it comes to marketing a, potentially dangerous product to children?
I think it needs to have a disclaimer, in all honesty, because right now they try to hide it as much as possible with the bright colors, the labels that say, part of a balanced breakfast. But really, it's just, that is in small font because that speaks part of the truth. So in like Europe, if you buy cigarettes, it would have like a picture of a blackened lung or something really gross that is correlated to the adverse effects of smoking. And so there should be something like that, even for the parents' sake. But I think just having something like a label that's big that says this is full of sugar. I don't know what the verbiage would be behind that, but I think there needs to be some sort of marketing material that does warn what you're going to get.
So it would almost be like how energy drinks say on them should not be consumed by people under 18 or that sort of warning label. I know cereal and energy drinks aren't on the same necessarily level of toxicity, but they're not that far off.
Yeah, I wish we had like a cereal box here in person that we could look at, because I do agree with everything that's said. I mean, cereal at its core is just like puffed rice or corn sprayed with food dyes and sugar chemicals to make it taste good. So it is not healthy for your kids to eat every day. It is not a balanced breakfast, and it usually isn't what your kids should be eating to start their day. But I will say where I kind of disagree, because each cereal box, and it was in, I think 1990 is what I saw, is when the nutrition label was being forced to be on all products. And the nutrition label does state clearly how much added sugar is in each serving. I think the issue is most Americans just don't actually know how to read nutrition labels and don't know the difference between added sugar versus like natural sugar, and they don't know these things. And I think that's where, is it the responsibility of these companies to market the negatives, or is it us to educate ourselves and be like, no, I'm not going to feed my kid? And I do think we are on a path where people are getting smarter about what I want to put in my bodies. And I think cereal has had to shift their marketing in a way to like, they're marketing very weird. If you look at a cereal box, they're marketing weirder things on their boxes now versus what they used to market, like protein or whole grains.
That makes sense.
They're using kind of like trendy buzzwords.
Yeah.
Obviously core facets of nutrition, but like realistically, there is like a protein craze going on in our country right now, right? Like everyone wants to max out their protein. Look what Chipotle just did, where you can literally buy a cup of meat as like a little protein, little protein bite for you.
I feel like if they were, though, trying to support the average child and be ethical, then they wouldn't rely on the 10-point font on the back, right? They would have something slapped on the front. When you go to the store and you walk down the aisles, everything is front facing. Maybe what the law should be is they flip everything. So it's the nutrition label first. That's what leads, and they can still have their iconography and labels and bright colors, but that needs to be at the forefront when people are making the decision. Otherwise, it is kind of manipulating or taking advantage, exploiting the uneducated, right? But definitely, I think there should be way more education just in the grand scheme of things on
for sure and
how to consume.
I also think it kind of goes back to that Happy Meal point where ultimately like cereal is super easy to make and most people it's super easy to prepare. Like you buy the box, you pour it into a bowl, that's that. And I think it kind of goes back to that Happy Meal example where parents, I believe, are probably willing to sacrifice the nutritional aspect for the convenience. And ultimately, like, I don't know that the average American consumer is super mindful about that. I mean, just look at all the processed foods and sugary drinks and aspartame we're consuming on a regular basis. Like, it's not necessarily top of mind for a lot of people. So I'd imagine that's being exploited quite a bit, just like that convenience factor and also familiarity, right? Like cereal's been kind of a staple of our culture's diet for like 100 years now. I wonder like what the socioeconomic factors are that play into who's buying cereal. Who is kind of like the biggest piece of the market share when it comes to cereal consumption, right? Because, not to get too into the weeds on this, but like a lot of times people who don't have the most means aren't the highest educated and aren't necessarily thinking about the nutrition ingredients, or maybe they don't have the skill set to read and understand the effects that these things have. So I wonder if it's even darker than we think and they're kind of preying on people who aren't necessarily educated or really have the means to go for a healthier alternative.
Yeah, I could go down a huge rabbit hole here. I'm very passionate about this topic.
But
yeah, I mean, it's the same with when you drive through poorer community. What you're going to see on the side of the road is fast food. You're not going to see a Whole Foods. You're not going to see healthy food options. It's too expensive.
Dollar Generals.
Yeah,
it's gonna
Dollar
be a lot of stuff
Generals.
like that.
I think it's definitely poorer groups of people with less time on their hands to cook their children a huge breakfast. I mean, that was the thing why sugar cereal popped off, I think in the early 1900s and late 1800s especially, was because women were joining the workforce. Therefore, they have less time to make their kids breakfast. Therefore, cereal is a great option because they can just stick it in front of their kid and they can make it themselves. So I think
Same with like TV dinners.
Yeah.
Around the same period.
So I think it's poorer communities, people with less time on their hands. But cereal is dying out, though. That is the thing. It is going down from my research
And the organics are going up.
Yeah. It's more expensive.
It is way more expensive.
I do want to ask a quick question. What is your favorite cereal mascot of all time?
I think it is the Quisp alien with the little blaster.
He is pretty cute.
He's super cute.
I think for me, I would go the Apple Jacks cinnamon stick.
Oh, he's cool.
Here I come, I am
They
cinnamon.
switched it though.
Really?
Yeah, no, he's just
not-
like
They whitewashed him.
Really?
They whitewashed him.
He's
Yeah.
not Jamaican anymore?
No. R.I.P. Yeah, moment of silence.
Pour one out.
There's so many good ones. I like the Captain Crunch.
I don't like Captain Crunch. I don't trust him for whatever reason.
He'd make you walk the plank for saying that, bro.
Yeah.
My kind of thought when we came up with this topic would be to kind of like bookend it with some of the more positive stuff that could maybe even tie into like SKOL in a sense.
Yeah. Like,
I know
we do
we're
good marketing.
We're not necessarily selling cereal.
I saw a line that is, or a quote, that's just, the best marketing makes you feel smart for buying. The worst marketing makes you feel tricked afterwards. We never want to make people feel tricked, but we want people to feel good about buying something and then actually have the follow-up with that, right? Finding that balance.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of at the core of what we do at SKOL Marketing, right? Like being able to help, local companies be able to help them pursue their goals, get them found online, be able to be stewards of their field and their community. There's a lot of good that can come from marketing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this goes back, I know we've talked about this a lot, but how authenticity is so important and you reap what you sow. So if, you're staying true to yourself and you're an actual good person, and you keep putting out content that is good and giving back and engaging with your community, things like that, all of that is going to come back to you in due time. And you can't forget that. So staying authentic, staying true to yourself, being good, doing good for the community will come back.
I think that's a good note to end on. Be good.